begin. So this is a share whose purpose is to take a look at some of the Giluyim and Chadoshim that we see in Samach Vav, and to take a very broad view, not to get too caught up in details, but to take a very broad view of the Hemshech in its entirety. Obviously, that means that we'll miss out a lot of detail and even big chunks and so on, but hopefully we'll come away with a general understanding of, at least in part, what the Chadash of Samach Vav is, and also more generally, the Rebbe Rashab's contribution to Chassidus and the way the Rebbe Rashab built on what came before him and added new perspective and deeper perspective than what came before. And the title is Chadash Mamosh, which is a quote from within the Hemshech. And as we're going to see, this is a theme, the concept of Chadash Mamosh, of drawing an entirely new revelation into the world, is one of the central themes of Samach Vav from the very beginning all the way through to the end. And sometimes when we learn more slowly, more beyond, we lose track of the bigger picture, and we focus in on the particular sugyas of the Ma'ila Mitzvahs, of Ratzon and Tainug, which are in the earlier Mamorim, and we lose track of the bigger picture. And hopefully this presentation will help to provide a broader picture and understanding of how the different parts of the Hemshech fit together. This is going to be divided into 3 parts. On the handout you see there's section 1, Aleph, is Chodesh Mamosh. Section 2, Ben Shnat Eved, which is one of the big sugyas later on in the Hemshech. And then finally, section 3, Gimel, Menukudas HaChochma, Lebinyan HaMalchus. And here I want to take, in the last part, we'll take a broader view, not just of Samach Vav, but also of the Rebbe Rashab's Mamorim in general. So we'll begin with the beginning. The first source number 1, is from the first Maimar, after discussing Tekiyah Shofar, the famous beginning, and which he comes back to in the Hashlamas Hadrosh at the end. He then begins a discussion of Mataras Habriya, the purpose of creation, and here he sets out at the very beginning the Chiddush, the new approach that the Rebbe Rashab maps out throughout the Hemshech, that the purpose of creation isn't just Dirib Tachseinem as we usually understand it, but rather Hischadshus. There should be something new. A new innovation should be achieved through creation, and specifically through the work of Torah and Mitzvahs of Neshamas Yisrael down here in Olam Hazeh. So let's read inside. Brius ha'elamas ha'yaides ha'simtzum ha'rishon sh'ha'ya b'erin sof. V'nisha chalal l'mokum panei. Creation of the world was through the simtzum ha'rishon, the primordial symptom, a withdrawal or concealment that occurred in the infinite revelation of Hashem. V'nisha chalal l'mokum panei, and a empty space was left. U'mizeh hu shirish eshavas ha'kelim mitzias ha'elamas kolam. This symptom is the root of the creation of receptacles and of the existence of all the worlds. After the symptom, a revelation of a line, a narrow, let's say, limited, finite form of divine revelation is drawn into the empty space. This is the revelation, the light that will illuminate the receptacles and the worlds. Skip the parentheses. The generality of the worlds, revelation and receptacles, all of the normal way we think about existence, and say the Rishalshlos, the whole order of the cosmos, is all within this empty space, which was left after the Simpson. what's the purpose of all this? Hashem placed Adam and Chava in Gan Eden to work the garden and to guard the garden. To love the Zuramach essay, to work is the 248 positive commandments, and to guard is to desist from the 365 negative commandments. And the purpose of this, the purpose of guarding, of working and guarding, of Torah mitzvahs, says to draw forth additional revelation through the kav, through the narrow finite line, to draw forth additional revelation from the infinite revelation that preceded the Tzimtzum, to the point that in the future, when Mashiach comes, there'll be a revelation of the infinite light in the empty space as it was prior to the Tzimtzum. Now, right away, the Rebbe Rashab, after presenting this encapsulation of the purpose of creation, the purpose of creation is to draw the infinite light that preceded the Tzimtzum back into the space which was emptied and in which the worlds exist. Now the Rebbe Rashab comes with the obvious question: what is the innovation? You're not achieving anything new, seemingly. Previously, prior to the Tzimtzum, the infinite revelation of God filled the entirety of the empty space. And so you're just returning the world, the cosmos is now returned to its original state, to Torah mitzvahs. Before you had Gilui Ein Sof, and now you have Gilui Ein Sof. What's the point? Just leave it as it was. Why bother going through the whole process of Tzimtzum, creating the world, giving Yidden Torah mitzvahs, and then through the avoid of Torah mitzvahs, they return the world to what? To what it was before. Just leave it as it was. So now he gives two reasons. A simple reason, that to begin with, when the infinite revelation filled the entire hollow space, it was impossible for worlds to exist. So therefore, the revelation of Ein Sof was not within the worlds. The worlds couldn't exist, so there could be no Gilui of Ein Sof in the worlds. However, after the worlds are created, when we draw the revelation of the infinite that preceded the Tzimtzum into the worlds, now the revelation is in the worlds. And he gives a beer how is it possible for the world to exist once you have, if before the world can exist, why can they exist now? We're not going to get into that. But the point over here is that the Chadash, in accordance with the first answer, the Chadash is that now the world exists and the Gilui of Ein Sof doesn't obliterate the worlds. And therefore, you can have Gilui Ein Sof within the worlds. Before the Tzimtzum, there was only Gilui Ein Sof and there were no worlds. So the Chiddush is not that there's a new kind of Gilui. The Chiddush is only Misad Kilo, the Makablim, that there is even a Makabel. That's the Chiddush. The Chiddush is that there's Makabel. To be Makabel the Gilui. But the Gilui is the same Gilui. The revelation is the same revelation. There's no new revelation achieved through Torah mitzvahs. Then he gives a second answer. We can additionally say that actually there will be a revelation that is even higher, a loftier revelation, which even transcends the original revelation. The original revelation that was prior to the Tzimtzum. This is the additional revelation that is drawn into the world through Torah mitzvahs. That now, through Torah mitzvahs, the interiority and the essence of the Ein Sof, which is even loftier, even more transcendent than the revelation that previously filled the empty space. In other words, greater than the revelation that was revealed prior to the Tzimtzum, as we will explain, will now be revealed through the avodah of Torah mitzvahs lamata and elam hazeh. But in general terms, this is the revelation of Ein Sof, Hasiv Kalam, the revelation of the infinite that transcends all worlds, and this was the ultimate purpose for which the worlds were created. Okay, so now in the second source, we're going to take a look at what is this Chadash? What is the new Giloi? The Elyon Shalamayla Me'er HaKoden. There, in the initial source, in the initial presentation of this, he didn't use the Lashon Chadash. But here, later in the Hemshech, he uses the Lashon Chadash Mamosh, as he does in many places throughout the Hemshech. And here he explains that it's Dafka through Yigiyah. Dafka through Yigiyah, the work in Elam Haza, draws forth a different kind of revelation. Specifically through toil, we draw from the interiority and the essence of the Ein Sof an entirely new revelation, an Chadash Mamash. And here he explains in a more practical way what the chiluk between the Chadash and the light that already existed, that was already revealed prior to the Tzimtzum is. The root of the entire order of Abiyah, of Atzilus Bri Yitzira and Asiyah, of his Shalshus, is drawn from the Kav and the Chot, which is the narrow revelation of Elokus into the Chalal, into the place of the world. This revelation comes only after the initial symptom. After the initial revelation was concealed and encompassed within the essence of the infinite revelation, to skip a few lines, everything that is drawn forth through the Kav and Chot into Atzilus, Bri, Yitzira, and Asiyah is not called a new revelation. There's nothing fundamentally new about it. This Kav and Chot is just revealing what was previously concealed. Now, whatever was revealed prior to the Tzimtzum and through the Tzimtzum is concealed is now revealed through the Kav. In fact, even the Gilui of Bnei Tzimtzum was a Gilui which was for the purpose of creation, as is explained elsewhere in the Hemshech, Mishus Le'el, v'nikra helim shel ha'or v'hagilui sha'idei hakav. The Ein Sof shel Bnei Tzimtzum is called that which is concealed. It's the concealment of the light which is revealed by the Kav. So the Kav is not revealing anything new, it's just revealing the initial Gilui of Ein Sof shel Bnei Tzimtzum. Nothing new is revealed, is in this revelation. This light already existed in a concealed manner prior to the Tzimtzum, which just wasn't revealed in the worlds. Gabi Olamus, it's the Helam. Through the Kav, it comes from concealment to revelation. Like thought, which is previously concealed in the mind, and then through Dibur, it's revealed. But the speech is not adding anything new. Now, this concept of speech is the ordinary concept of speech, where you're just revealing that which is previously concealed in thought. But later on, we're going to see that there's a different kind of speech, the kind of speech that comes through Yigiyah, that comes, and the kind of speech that actually does bring something new, which wasn't previously in thought. But that's different. That's a special kind of speech. That's a kind of speech where you're teaching and not just being Megala was previously Ba'alam, but it's a whole different level of communication, which is Magir to the Etzem. Here we're talking in the conventional understanding of speech, where you just say what was previously hidden in your mind. Okay. Let's skip now to the end of this quote, without going through the whole Arichos, where he says, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines from the end of the paragraph. But there is another kind of light, which is called which is a revelation which comes from the essence of the Ein Sof, not the Ein Sof which was revealed prior to the Tzimtzum, and which was already l'serach ha'olamas, which already had a shaykhs to olamas, and which was just concealed l'gabi olamas, and is now revealed in olamas. No, there's another kind of oir. It is the oir hanigla mib'chinas atzvus Ein Sof. It's a light that is revealed from the essence of the Ein Sof. Shlei aydei b'chinas hel v'gila, not in a manner of concealment and revelation. V'haynu atzvus Ein Sof k'moshe v'lefnei atzvus ma'arishan. L'mayla m'sher shemokar hakav. This is the essence of the Ein Sof, as it is prior to the Tzimtzum. Not the Ein Sof that's prior to the Tzimtzum, but rather the essence of the Ein Sof that is prior to the Tzimtzum. The Maila Mesherish Kav, it's higher than the Oy which was Meir Lefnei Tzimtzum, and which is the root and source of the Kav. That was not Meir before. Even Lefnei Tzimtzum, it wasn't in the Lefnei of Gila. And therefore, when we draw it forth into Olamas through our Avodah, it's called an El Chadash Me'akare. It's an entirely new revelation. It doesn't come in the manner of being a root and source for Hishtalshlus, that which is concealed and then comes in a revealed manner in the Kav B'chut. How do we achieve this? How do we achieve such a Gilai? Revealing a new kind of Gilai, not just revealing what previously existed. It can only come through Avodah v'Yigiyah Dafka. It's specifically through toil, through Avodah, we draw forth an entirely new revelation which is higher than the source of the Kav. And this is the additional Maila, the greater advantage of serving the Eibishter in a manner of an Eved, as opposed to like a Ben, harnessing the yoke, working to refine the world in a manner of innovation, creating new Gilei. Specifically through this is Nimshech and Chadash Mamosh, Mashe'ina Eved Neman, Mamosh Tzlis Avdas Ba'avdas Kashrus. The Eved Neman can't achieve this. Dafka, the Eved Pashat, and we're going to come back to this. Obviously, this is explained by Riches in the Mamorim of Mikra Rav and the Mamorim after Mikra Rav. But here we're going to take from a Maimah later on in the Hemshech, where he talks about the Ben Shenat Eved, and here we'll also see the Maila of the Eved over the Ben, and how it's possible that a Ben can also become an Eved. And just to put this in perspective, we can say, really, from the very beginning of the Hemshech, he tells us that Avodah that the Avodah of being an Eved is key. He says, the Hechuk Shiyir B'chinas Avodas Eved. This is on page base, already the second page of the Maimah. So you already see from the beginning that he's heading this way. And the Maila of the Eved is explained very barichos in many Mamarim. Another thing I want to bring out is there's another series of Mamarim which is very famous, besides Mikra Rav, which is HaChadash, which is also part of Samach. And there he explains the Pratistik Madrigas of the Ein Sof Shepnei Tzimtzum, which over here he just made a holistic chiluk between the Oir, which is the Mokar and Shirish Hakav, and Atzmus Ein Sof. But over there in HaChadash, he gets into more specific madrigas, and also much later in the Hemshech, towards the end, again, he goes into the different madrigas in Ein Sof Shepnei Tzimtzum in an even more practical way. And now let's move on to understand the Maila of the Eved and the Maila of the Ben Shanas Eved. And here we come to source 3. And this will really follow on from what we explained in source 2, the chiluk between the Kav, the Gilei that comes through the Kav, which is Gilei HaHelam, and the Gilei of an Oir Chadash Mamish. This will really be brought out when we look at this marshal of the Ben Shanas Eved. Understand this by way of example from a father who had a son who was complete with every maila, every advantage, both in wisdom and also emotionally in character. And he conducts the household of his father with wisdom, with a straight mind, and with good faith, and works on behalf of his father, just as you would expect a son to work on behalf of his father. He desires his father's welfare more than his own. However, all the pleasure and all the joy that the father takes in having such a wise son, nevertheless, the father doesn't have complete satisfaction from his perfect son. He doesn't yet have true completion because he still needs his father. He still receives his sustenance from his father. All his needs come from his father. All the work that he puts in is with the assets of his father. He's not bringing anything new to the table. All he's doing is he's taking existing assets and he's working with those assets, and he's very successful in accruing more and more worth, more and more value from the existing assets. Everything is already exists. It's already prepared by the father, and everything's already on a plate for the son. This is not true completion. He only achieves true completion when he has the ability to sustain himself with his own work, with his own toil, the toil of his own hands. And just to go back, this is the difference between the kav, which is just Megala existing Giloi, and the new revelation that comes through our Avodah of Torah Mitzvahs with the Yagiyah, which creates something new which wasn't already pre-prepared and just waiting to be revealed. So how is the son going to be able to sustain himself through his own work? He has to learn a trade. Even if with a little bit of work he's able to sustain himself in a very narrow way, maybe he's not even necessarily wealthy or anything like that, but he's able to live by his own work. Now he's truly complete. Why? Because he's done this on his own, with his own power. He's created something new. It will be very sweet for him. He'll take much greater satisfaction in being self-sufficient. That he doesn't rely on anyone, not even his father. And that's greater for him. It's greater for him to be self-sufficient than to take pleasure in many great pleasures that are not his own, which is bread of shame. And not only will he be more satisfied, also the father will be more satisfied. How much more so as the son is able to not only sustain himself, but even to sustain his father. If the son is now able to also sustain the father through the toil of his hands, using his craftsmanship and his craft tools, and to the point that he even achieves greater wealth than the father ever did. When the son uses his wisdom to make additional blessing, which is entirely new, entirely innovated by himself, through his own work, through his own skill and talent, whether it's to fix something, he has the talent to fix something, he learns the talent to fix something, or to make beautiful vessels which are entirely new, and here you see very strongly this notion of Chadash, innovation, creating something new, is what creates the joy, what creates the satisfaction It's not just the independence, but it's the novelty. As opposed to wealth, where he was just successful in using out the potential of his father's assets. There, it's not creating something new. Yesh miyesh, you're creating something from something else, as opposed to yesh miyayin. So these associations are obviously developed elsewhere in the Hemshech. The Chadash yesh miyayin, which is associated with Malchus, which is rooted in Atzmus in itself. As the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Chaf of the Geras HaKodesh, that it's only in the power of Atzmus to create something out of nothing. So, but let's not get too carried away, and let's carry on. The point here is that all of this is only possible if the son leaves his father's house, goes far away from his father, and will not have anything of his father's assets. He has to go far away to learn a trade. To learn a trade, suddenly he has to become like a servant. He has to become an apprentice to a master. The master craftsman who will teach him. And the son, who previously had every luxury and had everything on a plate, now is a servant, an apprentice who needs to be totally dedicated to the will of the master. He needs to completely dedicate himself and toil to learn the craft until he also is able to fix things and create new things with the craft tools like his master is able to, and is able to sustain himself through the work of his own hands, to create very great wealth using his own strength, using his own capacity, using his own power, and far greater wealth than he would have been able to make if he remained in his father's house. So here we see the Maila of the Ben Shanasa Eved, that even though the son is able to be very successful if he just uses his father as assets, but when he goes away and toils to become independent and to create independent wealth out of nothing, that causes him and the father much greater satisfaction. And now, source 4, how is this in the Nimshal? So elsewhere in the Hemshech it talks about the Maila of mitzvahs, but really a case can be made that the real Chadash of Samach Vav is to bring out the Maila of Torah, of Limud HaTorah, and specifically Limud Torah Hanigla, to learn the revealed part Torah, and especially Torah, Limud HaTorah, which is Negea Lamaisa, Limud HaHalachas, Libun, Birav Libun HaHalachas, learning Torah not just for the intellectual pursuit and understanding and enjoying the understanding, enjoying the svara, enjoying the seichel of Torah, but you're learning Torah in order to apply it la halacha, to know what the ratzon of the Eibishter is. And this is a different kind of limud. And here we bring out that this kind of limud, the limud, ordinary limud Torah is like the limud of a ben Torah. A ben who understands his father's seichel, appreciates his father's seichel, has a natural aptitude to be like the father, to continue the father's way. So similarly, a Yid who learns Torah is learning Chokmah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's the wisdom of the Eibishter, and he understands it in his seichel. So this is the relationship of a father and a son. But when you learn Torah in a manner of Kabbalah, in a manner of accepting the yoke of heaven, and a manner of toiling to understand what the will of the Eibishter is, what is the Ratzon Hashem, and obviously, yes, you're learning seichel. It's still Chokmah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the underlying purpose, the axiomatic purpose, and the approach is one of bittul, and one of being an eved to the Eibishter. This is the mile of the ben shenasa eved, that even in Limud HaTorah is in an open of avdus, is in a manner of being a servant, like the ben who went away from the father to learn a trade, to toil, and to create something new out of nothing. And so here he explains that on the one hand, there's the Torah, the way it's in Skala Milamayla, the way it's revealed from above, and there it's Torah's emes, it's pure, it's refined, it's clear. There's no struggle, there's no yigia. So how is it possible that we do find there's an Indian of struggle in Torah? So b'zeh yuvam mashyish b'Torah sidm u'pselas hamalim ma'astirim ala mitzvah Torah v'hen kol ha'kushis u'kiyidu d'chol kushi u'misitra achra. Every question in Torah comes from sitra achra. It comes from that which is unholy, that which is opposed to holiness, opposed to kedusha. U'k'mishis ba'leil, as explained earlier in the Hemshech, d'chora kol zeh inu muvan. It's not understood. How is it possible that there could be questions in Torah? How could there be something which is from Sitra Achra being mixed into Torah? Torah is it's Chachma Brura B'etzem. It's wisdom that is essentially clear. It's the wisdom of the Eibishter. Anything that is essentially clear isn't going to receive any mixture, any mixing in of anything that doesn't belong, anything that's garbage, anything that's problematic, anything that's waste. If you have a light that is essentially pure, nothing can conceal, nothing can block it. On the contrary, a truly and essentially bright and clear light gets rid of all concealment. But the explanation is the truth is that when you have the clear wisdom of Torah Shabbat with the written Torah, which is the Gilim Elamayla, there is nothing that can conceal. There's nothing that can get in the way. It's only when you come to Torah Shabbat, to the oral Torah, to the Torah of Nigla, of Halacha, that in a lipstick the poil, when you come to Paskin Adin. In other words, when the Torah meets Olam Hazeh, when it goes far away from the Father, so to say, in the Mashal, like in the Mashal. When you come into Olam Hazeh, then doubts occur, we have questions, and the light ascends, is concealed, it's withdrawn into itself. It's only through great toil and really going deeply, thinking deeply, and learning in great depth, then you can come to the truth of the matter. And you can get rid of anything that gets in the way, of anything that causes confusion, anything that causes any concealment. Specifically through such toil and through such deep study, where you want to clarify the halacha, to understand the truth of the halacha, thereby you reach the essence of Ein Sof, Atzmus Ein Sof. It doesn't say Atzmus Ein Sof, it's Atzmus Ein Sof Mamosh, the essence of the Ein Sof. The essential concealment of the infinite, which is higher than Eli Gilei, higher than the Ein Sof Shepnei Asinsam, higher than the Gilei La'atzmei, which is Lefnei Asinsam, higher than the Etzem Ha'esh Lefnei Asinsam. Rather, it's the Helam Ha'atzmei of Ein Sof, the Nimshach Gilei Chadash Mamosh. Not only do you reach to Atzmus Ein Sof, you also draw from Atzmus Ein Sof an entirely new revelation. The scholars because when you reveal that which is essentially hidden, the essential hiddenness of Ein Sof, that's a completely new revelation. Until now it was essentially concealed. Only through your Yigia in Torah is it revealed. We won't get into this part about being Ma'amis HaMitzvah Koyach HaChochma. Key point that we want to bring out is that dafka through learning in an open of Psak, of Birur Halacha, and in an open of Yigia, you bring out an Ur Chodesh Mamish. And I want to just add that this is a word that the Rabbi Rashab returns to in the 60th Maimar, before the Ashramas Hadrosh, at the very end of the Hemshech, Hashemaim Kitzi. He explains at great length that dafka limatish ba'peh, it has a Maila over mitzvahs because it combines both Giloi and Atzmius. So on the one hand, like he says over here very briefly, that it's Magiyah lebechinas Atzmius in Sof Mamish, it reaches to the essence, and it's also the Nimshach Gilui Chadash Mamish, and it draws forth an entirely new revelation. So mitzvahs alone, if you do it in a manner of an Eva Pasha, it's Magiyah lebechinas Atzmius in Sof Mamish, but there's no Gilui. The Gilui is after through Torah. But when you learn Torah in this manner, you have both. You have both that you're Magil to Atzvus in Sof Mamish, and there he says the lesson of Hisayrus, you're Ma'ir Atzvus in Sof Mamish, and also the of Gilei Chadash, the Megala, that which was previously the Helam, only in the notion of Helam Atzmi. And one more paragraph to bring out this point. Sha'idei Dafka Megillah Chnas Helam Atzmi, the Insof Zeu Inyan, Ben Shanasa Eved. This is the Maila of the Ben Shanasa Eved. The Torah B'chlal Hi B'chanas Ben. As we said before, Torah in general is the notion, the concept of being a son. The relationship that a person has to the Eibusha through Torah is like the relationship of a son to a father. Of a Kashanasa Eved, when the son becomes a servant, the Torah Sheva Peh, B'chanas Kabbalah Samach Shemai V'Anochsas Musa L'Gamre Kanal, specifically through learning Torah Sheva Peh, in a manner of accepting the yoke and putting yourself entirely aside. I did the Dafka Magil B'chanas Halmat in Sof. V'zesh Kos B'Zoya Yasan Al-Machakulei Ilan Inon Alein Inon the Dafka Lamila the Chuchmas of Daikin Lei Shezayin Nibiru V'Liban Halachas. The Zoya says that the Ayin L'Rasa the Kinzul Secha, no eye, the Gilui which no eye has ever seen, will be given to those who wait for the Eibishter. And the way the Rebbe Rashab teaches in the Machaka, not only here but in other Mamorim already earlier on in the Hemshech, is that the Machaka it means not just to wait but to learn Be'ir, to be Ma'akav, not to run, not to go fast, not to just learn quickly, but to go slowly and to be Ma'ayan in the Sugya that you're learning in order to clarify the halacha, bitter of Liban halacha. After through that, you are magir to the gilei of the Helam Ha'atzmi B'Insof, which is an Ur Chadash Mamish. Okay, so now having traced in broad terms, really from the beginning of the Hemshech, that already at the very beginning he brings out that the Tachlis Matar of the Bria is to be Mamshech and Ur Chadash. As he says it over there, an Elyon Shalamayim Me'era Kodim. And we've now also explained that this is achieved specifically through the Avodah of Ben Shanasa Eved, which is the Avodah of Torah B'Kabbalah. Now I want to take a step back and look at this through the even larger picture of the Chiddush of the Rebbe Rashab, L'gabe his father, the Rebbe Marash, and L'gabe earlier Chiddush, the Chiddush of the Rabbeim beforehand. And the way I want to approach this is through looking at the chiluk between Chochma and Malchus. Nekudas HaChochma versus Binyan HaMalchus. As we see that the main Hemshech, the most famous Hemshech of the Rebbe Marash, B'Kocha, focuses greatly on the idea of Chochma, on the significance of Chochma, the way it is in Haskalah and in Avodah Hashem. But the Rebbe Rashab focuses more in many of his Hemshechim on the Maila of Malchus, specifically. So we see, for example, in Ranat, obviously it's the focus on Dibur and Malchus, and the Maila of the Nekeva, Bini Yisir and Nitna B'Isha. Also, if you look at Samach to Samach, Tafresh and Zayin, it's also about the Maila of Malchus, of Yichud Zun, and also in Samach Vav, you have a bunch of Mamorim where he talks about the Maila of Malchus, as we mentioned earlier before, the Maila of Malchus, that after through Malchus is the Shabbat Yeshmiayim, which is Mushash, which is rooted, which is after because Atzmas. So, one of the ways of thinking about the difference between Chochma and Malchus is that Chochma is Gilui HaHelam. It's revealing it's being megala in Seder Sarfus, in Atzilus, in Sof. What in Sof? The in Sof, which was misalim, which was concealed through symptom, is revealed through Chochmah into Atzilus. But it's not a Gilui Chadash. Chochmah isn't megala a Gilui Chadash. It's just makabel, the Gilui, which is l'mayla me'al Chochmah, is makabel that Gilui, and it transmits that Gilui to Bina. And then from Bina it goes further. Dafka Malchus, you have Hisavos, the creation of something entirely new. Okay, so to bring out this point, we'll look at two paragraphs, one from the Kacha, where it explains the idea of Nekudas HaChochmah, and one from Samach, where it explains the Maila of Dibur, which obviously Dibur is Malchus. So, source 5, Zeh Sheyesod Abba HaMashpil Lebina Nik Nekuda, Shu Hashem HaSimtzum. Yesod Abba, which means Chochmah, the way it's Mashpil to Bina, is called a Nekuda. And the reason it's called a Nekuda is because it's in an open of Simsum. Chochmah isn't Mashpia, it doesn't communicate in an open of Breitkeit at great length and breadth. Rather, Chochmah communicates, reveals a Nekuda. Yish Beis Nekudas. The truth is there are two Nekudas in Chochmah. In addition to Yesod Abba HaMashpil Lebina, there's also Etzem HaChochmah. V'hainu Mashe Etzem HaChochmah He Gamkin Yud, the Chinas Nekuda. The essence of Chochmah, even before it's Mashpil to Bina, is also a Yud, a Nekuda Chada, a single point. Anu Mashe Chochmah Nik Nekuda, Zeh Aderech Mashe Yesod Nukfu Nik B'Shem Nekuda. V'hainu Shezeh Aderech Moshe Halos Kli Sichel Kabel Me'amaskel Aderech Shosek Rav. In what way is the Etzem HaChochmah Nekuda? It's an open of a Nekuda because it's Mavatel itself. It's an open of Halah. It's raising itself up, making itself nothing, making itself an empty receptacle to receive the Seichel which is being received, which is coming from Milamayla. It's silent. It has nothing of its own. It's just receiving. So here, this brings out the point that Chochmah isn't creating anything new. It has nothing of its own. It's a statement. It's silent. It's just it's in an open of halah, raising itself up to receive the Gilui Milamayla. To receive from the koyach hamaskal, which is the source of intellection. It's completely empty of any communication. This is the effacement of Chachma, as explained earlier in the Kacha. In Kain Harizeh Kamei Nekuda, as Iris Grama, is just a small point, has nothing of its own, it's just receiving Milamayla. And that's the Etzem HaChochmah. Then there's the Yesod Abba, there's Chochmah as it becomes the Mashpia to Bina, and the Kodesh B'chinas Yesod Abba, B'chinas HaSinz B'chinas Yichol Ashpia. Here too, it's contracting in order to transmit. Okay, so, and so 6, just to bring out this point even more, what is Chochmah? The way that our Rebbe explains it in Tanya, as he heard from the Maggid, Ein Sof Baruch Hu Echad HaEmes Shu Levadihu Ve'in Zolase V'zu Hi Madrigat HaChochmah. Chochmah is Megala Ein Sof. Chochmah is Megala, there's nothing other than the Eibishter. So what is Chochmah Megala? Essentially, Chochmah is Megala, the state of a fed as it was before the Simpson, that there's nothing other than the Eibishter. It's not Megala anything new. It's not Megala that Oilimus can bring something new to the table. On the contrary, it's Megala, there are no Oilimus killer. There's just Ein Sof, there's only the Eibishter. Nothing else exists. And that's the Gilui Chochmah. The Gilui Chochmah is to Megala the Ein Sof Shefnei HaSimpson. Ein Sof Baruch Hu Echad HaEmes Hu Levadihu Ve'in Zolase. Mashe'en Ki Malchus. Malchus isn't just Megala that Hu Levadihu Ve'in Zolase. It's not just in Megala, the Gilead and stuff where there was no Yechilas for Elamus to exist. Malchus has the power to innovate, to be Machadash, to create a Havaya Chadasha. Not just in Megala, the Giluyim Shalamayla. So let's be aside, this is from Samach, but really, this Indian is Muvor in Ranat, and he actually over here, he's Mitzayan to Ranat. We'll read over here inside. Idea Dibor, Yetoisfu es Sichli Chadash is the Toisfu Chadash, Ba'amkas Hasecha Azeh. Through speech, additional new ideas, new understandings are added, are created. A new illumination in the depths of the seichel that he's trying to communicate, which didn't exist at all previously, a new depth that didn't exist previously. If he wouldn't bring the idea into speech, he would not at all know the depth that he's now innovating through speech. This doesn't come because the idea already existed before and through Dibur you're revealing it. No, it's coming specifically through the independent capacity of speech. That speech, Malchus, has an independent capacity, because it is truthfully prior in its root, it precedes intellect. Just like the avoda of the Yid Lamata precedes the Giluyim of Ernest Essence, and as the Rebbe Rashab explains, towards the end of the Hemshech, when he speaks about how the Neshamas are like the Rishima, the way it is in the Etzim Ha'Eish of Essence. As is known with regard to the root of the Oisius, which this is exactly what he explains over later on in the Hemshech. The Shirish in Oisius is in the Rishima, and the Shirish of Nesham Sisrael, who is also in the Rishima. Therefore, because Dibur, Oisius, language, Nesham Sisrael, are rooted in higher than any Gilei, therefore, in speech, there's the capacity to innovate a deeper seichel, a deeper intellect, which is entirely new, which far transcends the source of intellect. Like a woman who specifically has the capacity to create something entirely new, to create a new child. This is because her root is much higher. Therefore, she specifically is given additional understanding, greater understanding, to create something new. The Bina Yisera of the Isha is the capacity to create something entirely new. Specifically through speech, similarly, you create something entirely new. Here we get back to what we discussed before, that this is the same idea of Teresh V'Apeh, that we limit Teresh V'Apeh, which is Malchus. The Teresh V'Yidushi, the root of Teresh V'Apeh is higher than Teresh V'Apeh. Specifically in Teresh V'Apeh, you have the capacity to create something entirely new. And this is within its own capacity, not that it's revealing something that pre-existed, but because its root is prior, its root is deeper, is more essential, therefore it has the capacity to create something entirely new. And here again we have the same point, that this innovation comes specifically through toil, through great work. Why? What are you toiling? You're not toiling to be machadash. You're toiling to ensure that you're not straying from the way it is in truth. You're understanding everything as it is in its truth without straying. All of this is entirely in a manner of innovation. getting back to the original point that we discussed, not just the revelation that was previously concealed. It's not just chachma. It's not just the gilui of chachma. And it's highly new innovation. And this, we can say that this is melamed al hakoil. This teaches us, this is a way, a window into the holistic chassidus of the Rabbi Rashab, not only Samach but Bachal, that through the Yegia in Torah, and here you see it not just in Torah Sheba'al Peh, but with the Rabbi Rashab you see it in Pnimius HaTorah, that the Rabbi Rashab doesn't go quick. The Rabbi Rashab is an eifon of stelling, always stopping and taking everything apart and being mavara, being melaban halachas. And the Rebbe in the Sichos, when he talks about the Rabbi Rashab, the Rebbe talks about the Rabbi Rashab as being not just like the Mitzvah Rebbe, who was also in a manner of Rachavas Hanor, of great breadth, but with the Rabbi Rashab you have the additional facet that it's psak, that the Rabbi Rashab is coming down to maskana. He weighs the sugyas in chassidus, and it comes to hachra and a psak halacha, and you see in the Rabbi Rashab that the harchava is not just to explain, but to be malab and to clarify the true understanding and to come to the truth in an eifun of Yegia and an eifun of Kabbalah's oil. And this is something which obviously comes to its most elegant and fullest embodiment in the Hemshech Tafri Samach Vav, Yom Tov Shel Hashanah Tafri Samach Vav, which we can say is Taka and Chadash Mamosh.